$100,000 is Ecology, with their project on community empowerment and resilience in Oaxaca, Mexico. And so at this point, I'd like to invite if there's a representative from Ecology who would like to say a few words if they'd like to. And we have someone on hand who can translate if you would like.
Hi, this is Barbara Valerino. I'm the executive director of Ecology. Wow. Thank you so much. I can't believe it. And I'm so grateful. I think Severiana and Marco are on the line, but probably not with a great connection to be able to participate. So I'll just say a few words. So first of all, just thank you to ISTF for the recognition and for giving us this platform to share our work and to learn from others. It's been really great, and great job on organizing the conference and keeping us all informed and the translation. So thank you so much. I also want to recognize Severiana, whom you heard from yesterday. You know, she is from a remote rural community herself. She had to travel yesterday to be in a place where she had a good connection, and you perhaps heard roosters in the background when she was speaking. And afterwards, we did a little debrief, and she was just very proud of herself for doing this. This is not something that she does on a regular basis, and just having the opportunity to reach an international audience was an amazing opportunity for her. And we felt very proud of living up to our empowerment mission of giving her the opportunity to share the work that she does every day with communities. So thank you to our fellow finalists. Congratulations to you, and I hope that we continue learning from each other and collaborating. And really on behalf of the communities that we work with, who fight every day to conserve their lands and their forests, that's what we do it for. And these funds will go directly back to them to support their ongoing work. So thank you very much.
Thank you, and thanks to everyone for participating in this process, both the attendees and the Innovation Prize winners, and we're excited to see these projects achieve greater things. And now I'll hand it back to Jamie for the next item on the agenda.
Thank you, Dr. Kamita. Next, we have a very exciting series of speakers who have a special announcement to make around an incredible interdisciplinary collaboration here at the school. To introduce the collaboration, I'd like to invite Dr. Mary Evelyn Tucker, co-director of the Yale Forum on Religion and Ecology. Dr. Tucker is a senior lecturer and research scholar at Yale University, where she has appointments in the School of the Environment as well as the Divinity School and the Department of Religious Studies. She teaches in the joint MA program in Religion and Ecology and directs the Yale Forum on Religion and Ecology with her husband, John Grimm. Over the last 25 years, they have written and edited many volumes on ecology and religion and convened over 30 conferences on this topic, including at the United Nations. They also produced an Emmy Award-winning film, Journey of the Universe, which can be seen on Netflix, which is pretty cool. Dr. Tucker, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Jamie, and congratulations to all the student organizers and faculty and staff who supported this very rich conference. And congratulations to the prize winners we've just heard. So exciting for your extraordinary work. And yes, as Jamie mentioned, Journey of the Universe, by the way, is on Amazon Prime, not Netflix, but that's fine. It was on Netflix before. But I wanted to say that's a film that brings forward a sense of awe and wonder and beauty of the earth and the universe that's also behind what inspires us in a conference like this. And yes, I sympathize with organizing them because I've done so many, including 12 at Harvard, where we began this work in religion and ecology 25 years ago. And we were trying to establish a field in academia and a force in the larger society. My husband, John Grimm, is a student of indigenous religions for 50 years. So we are thrilled about the work of the Interfaith Rainforest Initiative and this new collaboration with the Forest School. And in fact, Gus Beth brought us here to Yale because he said, as dean in the 90s even, in 2000, he said, we need not only science and policy and economics, but values and ethics and culture. So in trying to bring forward that dimension of values and ethics and culture, I really want to say that of all the programs that have emerged of grassroots religious environmentalisms that are up on our website, the Interfaith Rainforest Initiative is probably the most remarkable exemplar. And many initiatives like that begin at conferences like your own here. And I just want to mention that the Interfaith Rainforest Initiative actually began in its seeds at a conference at the Vatican in October of 2016. And there were about 30 people gathered to speak about and discuss the Pope's encyclical, Laudato Si', Care for Our Common Home, where the elevation of both nature and humans and the respect for indigenous cultures and knowledge is absolutely central. And I really urge you to take a look at that remarkable document, Laudato Si', and what the Pope is trying to do in both conservation of culture and of ecosystems. Now, it was 7 months later that this conference that seeded the Interfaith Rainforest began in Norway. But I want to say what happened in the Vatican was 2 representatives from Norway, one from the Ministry of the Environment and another who led the Rainforest Foundation Norway, the NGO. When they saw this possibility of bringing religious leaders and indigenous people into dialogue for conservation of the tropical rainforest, they were astounded and moved to go back to the Norwegian government, which has been a huge supporter of rainforests, as you may know. In fact, over 10 years, they had given $3 billion to this kind of conservation. So at the Charles McNeill was absolutely central to bringing this whole conference together, bringing the UN and the Norwegian government to launch at the Peace Palace in the presence of the Norwegian King, Harald, this new initiative. And Harald and many, many Norwegians are absolutely devoted to forests, as you may know. So this collaboration was with Norway's International Climate and Forest Initiative, the Rainforest Foundation Norway, and various religious groups, including the World Council of Churches, the Parliament of World Religions, Religions for Peace, Green Faith, and the Yale Forum on Religion and Ecology. And there were religious and indigenous leaders from 21 countries to discuss with climate scientists and forest advocates and human rights experts, developing goals for action and milestones to mark their progress. I just want to briefly say the Minister of Climate and Environment at that time, Helgesen, said a decade ago, Norway decided to make reducing tropical deforestation one of its international priorities. In that decade, the scientific case, the economic case, the geopolitical case for ending deforestation has only grown. However, more is needed. There's a dimension to this fight that will require a global tectonic shift in values. It's not the realm of policy, commerce, or science, but of spirit, faith, and moral conviction. So this notion of moving in this direction is, I think, absolutely noteworthy for the Norwegians and for many as this dimension of collaboration and interdisciplinary work comes forward. The idea here is that forests are not simply a commodity, but a community, which is what Aldo Leopold, one of our early graduates, said. So we are thrilled with this new collaboration because it's really a convergence of 25 years of work in forest protection and conservation policy at the UN, led by Dr. Charles McNeill, and 25 years of many, many people working to bring the religious communities on board with the Forum on Religion and Ecology at Yale. And you can say 120 years of forest ecology and management here at the Yale School of the Environment, and especially with this new forest school. So we've got Gifford Pinchot's wise use that founded the school, and Aldo Leopold's valuing the biotic community for a land ethic, coming together with good ecology and good ethics. Now, I just want to introduce our keynote speaker here, Dr. Charles McNeill, who has been the luminary, the leader of this initiative at the UN and beyond. So dedicated, tireless, and a marvelous human being as well. So for over 25 years, he's led the United Nations work on sound environmental management in the developing world, and he's currently the senior advisor on forest and climate for the United Nations Environment Program, UNEP. And he's the key person overseeing this Interfaith Rainforest Initiative. I would just want to mention a couple other quick things, because it's in the bio there, but he did work at UNDP, the development program, and is a good friend of our former Dean Gus Speth on these issues of forest, biodiversity, climate change, sustainable energy, and so on. He also founded and led catalytic global initiatives, including the Indigenous Peoples Initiative for the Paris Climate Conference in 2015, the global coalition that delivered the New York Declaration on Forests. He was critical in the RED programs and in the Equator Initiative. So he has a PhD as well in genetics and focusing on conservation biology from the University of California at Davis. So it's with all of these reasons, with all of this work and experience, this extraordinary commitment that Dr. Charles McNeill brings to this effort of this new collaboration of the Interfaith Rainforest Initiative, the Yale Forum on Religion and Ecology, and the Forest School at Yale. We're delighted to welcome Dr. Charles McNeill.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mary Evelyn Tucker, and hello to everyone. And question for Jimmy, I think we should now see a video. Jane Goodall has been kind enough to prepare a 3 or 4 minute video for us to give us an overview of the initiative Dr. Tucker just talked about, the Interfaith Rainforest Initiative. Shall we run that video now?
Yes.
Hi, I'm Inger Anderson, Executive Director of the United Nations Environment Program. Tropical deforestation is among the most urgent challenges of our time. Now more than ever, we need leadership and influence of the world's religions to halt and reverse tropical deforestation. The Interfaith Rainforest Initiative is showing us that there is more commitment across faiths to achieve this goal. We invite all leaders, organizations, and networks of faith around the world to please join us in this mission to protect our future. And now, United Nations Messenger of Peace, Dr. Jane Goodall, to tell us more.
Rainforests, ecological marvels, millions of years in the making. Rainforests provide water, food, and livelihoods for billions of people around the world. They contain a staggering diversity of life. They create the oxygen we breathe and regulate our climate. They are our life support system. But rainforests are at grave risk. Every second of every day, an irreplaceable rainforest the size of a football field is destroyed. Powerful economic and political interests are driving their destruction to produce beef, palm oil, and paper, wiping out countless species from existence, marginalizing the poor and deepening inequality, threatening the survival of indigenous communities, and destroying the best solution for climate change that we have. But there is still hope, where a different future awaits us, where faith unites us to make rainforests a shared spiritual priority, where we teach our communities that rainforests are a sacred trust, where we feed a growing planet without converting rainforests, where we work with companies to ensure their products are deforestation-free, and where we make sure that governments protect forests and the rights of indigenous peoples. This is the future where we do what is right. But we need to come together, affirm that protecting rainforests is a moral responsibility for all people of faith, mobilize a movement built on the values we share across our religions and spiritual traditions, stewardship of the earth and care for creation, a respect for human rights and human dignity, social and economic justice. The Interfaith Rainforest Initiative is doing just that. From the Amazon to the Congo Basin to the forests of Southeast Asia, rallying faith communities to act. We must end deforestation because her life depends on it. His life depends on it. Their future depends on it. We all depend on it.
Great. Thank you, Jane and Inger. So hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. And congratulations on a successful symposium. It's an honor to speak here in this symposium on behalf of the United Nations after my first opportunity to do so exactly 5 years ago in 2016. And the past 3 days of discourse here have revealed for me how far our forest community has come in these past 5 years towards addressing the pervasive threats to forests and how far we still have to go. We've discussed multiple crises facing people and the planet. And I wanted you to know in the United Nations, our vision of how international action can achieve sustainable development is strongly tied to the protection, restoration, sustainable management of forests, particularly tropical forests. And let's never forget that it simply won't be possible to meet the goals of the Climate Paris Agreement without decisive action to end tropical deforestation. And if protected and restored, forests around the world can get us up to 1/3 of the way to meeting the Paris goals. So I think we can all agree that we face a crisis of existential proportions. That's not new. And we either deal with it or we leave future generations a planet in ecological collapse. We in the United Nations also believe that the only thing that will get us to where we need to be is partnerships and working across sectors, a theme we heard again and again in this symposium. Over the past 15 years, a broad coalition of governments, scientists, civil society partners, businesses, indigenous peoples, and UN agencies have been working hard to halt and reverse tropical deforestation. Indeed, we've heard from many of these partners in this symposium. The truth, however, is that much more is needed. Tropical deforestation continues at extremely dangerous rates and has only accelerated during this pandemic. To achieve the speed and scale of change needed to stop tropical deforestation requires new urgency, new momentum, and new energy. I think we've all come to understand over these 3 days that action on tropical deforestation and climate change and other issues for that matter comes down to political will. To motivate governments to implement the kind of laws and legislation, regulations, enforcement, and finance needed to stop deforestation will require a sea change in public opinion and activism. We need to inspire people in new ways and reach them at a deeper level of values and ethics. And that's what this session is all about. A few years ago, a group of partners that included the United Nations and Dr. Mary Evelyn Tucker of the Yale Forum on Religion and Ecology, who you just heard from, began to come to grips with the fact that one key component of civil society was not yet sufficiently engaged in the forest and climate movement, the religious community. Dr. Tucker has been a pioneer in this effort. Religious leaders and faith communities have unique contributions to bring to this movement. And as a UN official, it never occurred to me until recently, and until engaging with Mary Evelyn Tucker about this. One is sheer numbers. About 85% of people in the world have a religious affiliation, making them a formidable force for positive social and environmental change when they and their institutions pursue a common goal. A second is reach. Faith communities are widely spread, even in the most remote, far-flung rural areas where government institutions and NGOs are not to be seen often have no presence, and where environmental enforcement is typically weak. Religious institutions, however, are in these remote settings, and they offer enormous potential as advocates of good forest stewardship. And third is political power and influence. Religious leaders often have access to policymakers in local, regional, and national governments and can advocate for the kinds of policies needed to protect and restore tropical forests. So I'm here to talk about two things. First, I'll describe further the alliance that Dr. Tucker told us about that was formed some years ago called the Interfaith Rainforest Initiative. In fact, it's already starting to advance our shared forest agenda in a powerful way. It's an international platform for religious leaders and faith-based communities to work hand in hand with indigenous peoples, governments, civil society, and businesses on actions that protect rainforests at the global, national, and local levels. And second, I'll join together with Dr. Mary Evelyn Tucker and Dr. Liza Comita to announce an exciting new collaboration between IRI, the Interfaith Rainforest Initiative, and the Yale Forum on Religion and Ecology, and the Forest School in the Yale School of the Environment. So how did we get here? Dr. Tucker described the origin of IRI, and she's been at the heart of it since the very beginning. And a little more about that critical meeting 3 years ago, where the UN, the government of Norway, the Yale Forum on Religion and Ecology, Religions for Peace, Green Faith, the World Council of Churches, and the Parliament of the World's Religions launched this partnership called IRI. And the launch was held, as we heard, in Oslo at the Nobel Peace Center, under the auspices of the King of Norway, believe it or not. And we brought together senior religious leaders from all over the world with indigenous leaders, climate scientists, forest experts, and the United Nations. And we had an amazing session. We conducted information sessions for the religious leaders. We trained them like they were students for 3 days on the science of forest, climate, and the rights of indigenous peoples. We also facilitated a dialogue among faiths on how and where forests and nature figure into their theology, scriptures, and practices. And we found out that these issues feature clearly and strongly in all faith traditions, each in their own way. And rainforests in particular caught their attention, these iconic, exuberant, remarkably rich repositories of the abundance and diversity of life. So this partnership emerged with a resolve and a mandate to work globally and in 5 countries: Brazil, Colombia, Peru, the Democratic Republic of Congo, and Indonesia. Just 5 countries. But believe it or not, these 5 countries contain about 70% of the world's remaining tropical rainforests. So how does IRI work? Globally, IRI is mobilizing religious leaders to take action around the world. And to give just one example, in August 2019, nearly 1,000 of the world's most senior religious leaders, representing a billion people, agreed to work together through the Interfaith Rainforest Initiative and adopted the Faiths for Forest Declaration, which affirms in the strongest terms that taking action to halt and reverse tropical deforestation is a spiritual responsibility of the highest order, the highest priority. At the national level, we have launched IRI programs in all 5 of those countries. And in each country, we convened the most senior religious leaders, indigenous leaders, NGOs, scientists, activists, and politicians to undertake 3-day events, very much like what we did in Oslo. In this case, in each country, 200 to 400 leaders, and we followed that same format where we had educational sessions on these key issues. We had an interfaith dialogue on the relevance of forests to their faiths. We had an exchange between the religious leaders and forest leaders, leaders in forest protection, to identify priorities for how they can work together. And we did public launch events with extensive media attention nationwide, and we had created advisory councils with prominent religious leaders and others to develop a work plan and implement it. So now in all 5 countries, the IRI programs are building powerful movements that are bringing the reach, power, and influence of religious leaders to bear on the forest agenda. So allow me to share an example of what an IRI country program looks like on the ground, and I'll choose IRI Colombia. The program is guided by that advisory council I described, with the country's leading religious leaders, indigenous leaders, forest NGOs, and the UN. And they're working in 6 key areas. First, education and awareness raising of the religious constituencies themselves on these issues. The second is public outreach, advocacy, and public campaigns. The third is establishing local chapters in those regions of the country where rainforests face the greatest threats. And the fourth is influencing legislation and policy at the local, subnational, and national levels. We all know how important the laws of the land are in determining action. The fifth area of action is influencing the policies and practices of the private sector, especially the extractive industries such as logging, industrial agriculture, mining, oil production, poaching, etc. And 6 is advocating through all of these for defending the defenders of rainforest, protecting the indigenous peoples. And to explore a little bit with you how the creative and effective way that IRI Colombia has begun to influence policy. In 2018, with a view to the upcoming municipal elections that were happening across Colombia, the IRI Colombia team realized, let's develop a strategy to influence local development planning. So what they did is they first advocated with members of Congress to get 2 major articles introduced into the National Development Plan of Colombia, that plan which determines what the government invests in. And one article that they got in ensures that the Colombian government recognized the protection of tropical forests, tropical rainforests, as a national priority. The second article commits the government to develop a public policy on halting deforestation that would be prepared and implemented in cooperation with all affected sectors, including religious leaders. So armed with that national level commitment in place, the IRI Colombia team mapped those regions of the country with the highest rates of deforestation. And they set out to launch local chapters of faith-based action coalitions. So they met with, in 14 departments throughout the country to begin with. They brought mayoral candidates. So their mayors were up for election in all these places. So they brought all the candidates together and they said, we're gonna have a public debate. And in those debates, they each signed a commitment statement that said, if elected, they would actively promote rainforest protection and stand for indigenous peoples. What a great idea to actually, before they're elected, get them to commit. And then once the elections were over, the IRI Colombia team came back to these newly elected mayors and negotiated to have IRI representatives serve on municipal planning councils for 8-year terms, where they can now monitor and accompany the forest and land use planning. Extremely strategic, extremely impactful. By the end of 2020, more than 36 chapters had been launched across the country, creating a powerful faith-based local movement for education, on-the-ground mobilization, and political advocacy. They're also working continually at the national level though, regularly meeting with Congress, ministers, and even the president to call for enhanced action on forests and indigenous peoples, including a recent collective call by faith leaders for the president to increase the ambition of Colombia's nationally determined contribution under the Paris Climate Agreement. In other IRI countries, they're engaging in similar kinds of activities, adding up to a potent impact in these 5 countries that hold 70% of the world's remaining rainforest. So you may ask, what is IRI doing to help indigenous peoples, which is a primary focus of the initiative? I think we all know, and we heard about over the past 3 days, that indigenous peoples are historically the defenders and best stewards of the planet's rainforests. And that one proven way to protect rainforests is to scale up the granting of legal title to their traditional lands. So that's a focus of our work. To give an example, in Africa, in the Democratic Republic of Congo, right now, landmark legislation is being considered by the National Assembly that for the first time specifically recognizes indigenous people's rights. Through IRI, this is also the first time that religious leaders in the country have come together across all faiths to support indigenous peoples. And this legislation, with a powerful declaration that explicitly recognizes indigenous peoples as holders of rights, holders of valuable traditional knowledge, and holders of a unique and valid spirituality. When religious leaders speak out, the government responds. And so we're hopeful that this historic legislation can be approved over the coming months. Asia. In Indonesia, the largest predominantly Muslim country in the world, IRI is undertaking an encouraging process to heal the historic wound between religions and indigenous peoples. During the launch of IRI at the beginning of last year, leaders of all 6 formal religious groups in Indonesia, the Muslims, the Catholics, the Protestants, the Hindus, the Buddhists, the Confucians, all stood together with the country's major indigenous leaders and declared in unison their solidarity on indigenous rights to land and culture. This had never happened before. The head of the UN was there and nearly fell out of her chair and was in tears to see this. Now, these groups are working together to implement this joint commitment. In Latin America, IRI programs are offering direct support and rapid deployment of food and health supplies and services to indigenous communities in the Amazon to address the COVID crisis. In fact, this coming together of religious leaders and indigenous leaders in IRI is the most moving and important development that I've seen in decades. Now I turn to my final part, which is about the exciting new partnership I mentioned earlier. We in the United Nations and the IRI team are particularly delighted to be able to forge a new kind of collaboration with the Yale Forum on Religion and Ecology and the Forest School of the Yale School of the Environment. The objective is to strengthen research, education, and engagement on issues related to, obviously, rainforests, indigenous peoples, values, and ethics. And we will work together on 5 areas. First, on Yale-hosted conferences and workshops, where we will build in sessions that cover those priority areas of focus. Number 2, stakeholder dialogues that follow the forest dialogue approach to develop stakeholder engagement initiatives around issues such as inclusion, climate, rights, and sustainability. Number 3, online courses that use the Environmental Leadership and Training Initiative methodology in course development and professional certification. Number 4, original research that will advance the interdisciplinary approaches of both Yale and IRI. And number 5, student internships for Yale graduate students to be hosted by the UN Environment Program and other key IRI partners. So I conclude now with 4 points. First, I invite you to explore the wealth of IRI educational materials, a virtual library of documentation ranging from country fact sheets to issue primers like you see here, all of which is on the IRI website. And now we'll see the next slide. Here in faith toolkits in the 8 religions and in 5 different languages and so on. Secondly, as one first step to get involved in IRI, we invite everyone who is participating today to follow IRI's work on social media channels under Faiths for Forests, and to follow IRI on Facebook, Instagram, and the IRI website. Third, the final part of our presentation is a 3-minute animation video that I know you're going to enjoy, that displays visually the work of IRI in a clear and compelling way. It was prepared by the IRI Columbia team as a gift to you and us. And fourth and finally, I greatly valued the opportunity. I want you to know what a thrill it is to participate with you today. And on behalf of the United Nations and the Interfaith Rainforest Initiative, I offer our most sincere thanks to the Yale Forum on Religion and Ecology, the Forest School in the Yale School of the Environment, and to all of you, the participants. We very much look forward to doing important work together over the coming years. So thank you so much. And now let's watch the animation video from Colombia.
Bosques de Colombia son milagros de la creación. Son el hogar de especies que no se encuentran en ningún otro lugar del planeta. Regulan nuestro clima y nos proporcionan alimentos, agua, medicinas y medios de vida. Trágicamente, están siendo destruidos ante nuestros ojos, para la ganadería extensiva, para la agroindustria, para la minería ilegal.
So everyone, there's some, I'm just going to restart the thing. I think there's some video challenges. 1 second. There we go.
Los bosques de Colombia son milagros de la creación. Son el hogar de especies que no se encuentran en ningún otro lugar del planeta. Regulan nuestro clima y nos proporcionan alimentos, agua, medicinas y medios de vida. Trágicamente, están siendo destruidos ante nuestros ojos, para la ganadería extensiva, para la agroindustria, para la minería ilegal y para los cultivos de uso ilícito. Esto crea grandes problemas para nuestro pueblo, acelera el cambio climático e impulsa la extinción de especies. Conduce a la inseguridad alimentaria, resulta en enfermedades como los coronavirus y amenaza a los pueblos indígenas que han preservado los bosques durante.
So everyone, it's not quite working. It is not supposed to flicker that way.
Supposed to have English subtitles for those of us who don't speak Spanish.
Yeah, it's also not
might be, Jimmy, you might need to maybe send the link out to everybody so people could watch on their own. We may not get there this time.
I think, yes, I will do that. Oops. Sorry, everyone. I'm just going to post the link here for those technical difficulties. And here is the video from IRI Columbia. But thank you so much, Dr. McNeil, for the incredibly inspiring and moving remarks. And again, apologies for the video challenges, but we're very excited to see where this goes next. And actually, I'm very excited to bring back Dr. Liza Kameda, who I should mention also holds joint appointments at the Forest School, at the Yale School of the Environment, and a secondary appointment in the Department of Ecology and Evolutionary Biology here at Yale. And Dr. Kameda is going to present to us the plan for collaboration between the Interfaith Rainforest Initiative and Yale. Dr. Kameda, the floor is yours.
Great. Thank you, Jamie, and thank you, Charles and Mary Evelyn. Charles covered a lot of what we're hoping to achieve. And so what I just wanted to do is say how excited I am on behalf of this school and the faculty. And for those of you that know Mary Evelyn or have interacted with her, you know how persuasive she is. So when I got a phone call from her and she started telling me about this new initiative, it became very clear the power and the promise of this approach. And it also became very clear why this is such an excellent fit for the Yale School of the Environment and the Forest School in this collaboration. And so there's so much that we already have in place that we can leverage to make this a really powerful collaboration. And the first thing that came to my mind was the ISTF conference, and that every year students do an amazing job of convening this conference with participants from all around the world, all with expertise and passion and experience working in tropical forests for conservation, for management, for protection of indigenous rights. And so our hope is that moving forward, that we can piggyback workshops and conferences through this collaboration onto the existing ISTF structure, so that in future conferences, for those of you that are really interested in this, hopefully next year at ISTF, we'll have special sessions or a whole additional conference shortly after ISTF, which will hopefully be in person again next year. And so I'm personally really looking forward to being a part of this new collaboration, and I think it's going to be really powerful and impactful. And with that, I've been also tasked with providing the closing remarks for the conference, which is a real honor. As I mentioned before, this conference is organized every year entirely by students. And every year I am more and more impressed with what they managed to pull off. So this year's conference had over 500 registrants. This is a new record for ISTF, and it's made possible by the fact that the conference is virtual, of course, but hopefully we can think about moving forward how we can continue to have some sort of virtual component so that we can reach people that can't travel or be in person with us every year. We had 25 speakers from around the world, and we heard about the relationship between tropical deforestation and environmental degradation, pandemics and public health, obviously very timely topic. We heard about the power of narratives and influencing perspectives on environmental crises, the role of high-level imagery, field verification, and community engagement in effective environmental protection and conservation. And I remember sitting just a few hours ago this morning in the session with the director of Global Forest Watch and representative from working on Red Plus, a Yale alum, and leader in indigenous tribes in the Amazon. And those three people working at very different scales and very different perspectives brought together for a discussion. It was really inspiring and amazing. Additionally, we launched this new collaboration between the Interfaith Rainforest Initiative and the Yale Forum on Religion Ecology and the Forest School at Yale School of the Environment. And this virtual format was a first for ISTF. The coordinators managed to make this happen across multiple time zones and every continent. And they really hope that this online format allowed for wider access and participation from attendees all over the world, especially those who have historically faced difficulties to traveling to New Haven. Just before we started, I mentioned that it probably would have been difficult to make it to New Haven right now anyway, since we have our third major snowstorm in 3 weeks. So it's even being able to have the resources to make it here, it doesn't always quite work out. And so the virtual option has been a really fantastic way to be more inclusive. The virtual format also necessitated new ways of virtual interaction using new platforms such as spatial chat that emulated in-person interactions, and also smaller sessions over Zoom. And we hope that people had a chance to really interact with other participants, even though we couldn't all be together in person. And we really hope that everyone enjoyed the conference, was able to make new connections, walk away with new perspectives, and we hope to see everyone in 2020, whether virtually or in person. And now, after sitting in your chairs, watching all these amazing presentations and discussions, it's my pleasure to invite you to get out of your chair and get ready to move your body, because we have a live performance, a live Bomba performance by a local group, Movimiento Cultural. So thank you very much and enjoy.
Kevin, do you hear me?
Hello, yeah, we just waiting for you to, we need permission to do the video.
Oh, yes.
Are we on? Yeah, we're on. Good. Not yet, Kevin. Here we go. Can you record the thing from here? Dewey, are you going to record the section?
Yes, this is being recorded. Oh, there we go. Perfect.
So here we go.
Are we on?
Yes, when they're dancing.
Welcome, everyone. We are Movimiento Cultural. First of all, we want to thank our Yale School of Environment and the International Society of Tropical Forester for inviting us. We are humble. We are proud to be here. I know time is short, so we're going to jump right into Bomba. Bomba is our Afro-Puerto Rican heritage that mixes indigenous, Puerto Rican, African, and European. So enjoy the music. Please visit our website at movimientoculturalct.org for any comments or questions. Thank you.
En la bomba encontré consuelo. En la bomba encontré mi voz. Por los barriles suena el buleo. Bomba el ritmo en mi corazón. En la bomba.
All right, we want everyone at home to dance along with us, including you, Charles.
Luis Cante,
visit our website at Movimiento Cultural.
And this music is for you to dance to. We saw some of you moving. So we encourage you for this song to get up and shake that booty. You've been at a conference all afternoon. It's time to get up and dance. So please get up on your feet and join us.
I'm gonna do it.
I need to stretch too. I know, I'm showing it, just my top.
Bomba.
Bomba is about a 400-year-old tradition that's been passed on from generation to generation. So when we play Bomba, we honor our ancestors, that was their music back in the slave days.
Should we end with la del árbol?
How do we do it on time? Do we got time for one more song?
Pretty sure everyone will be more than happy to hear one more.
Okay.
So this last song is in honor and in appreciation for the work that you do. It's called Estoy buscando un árbol, which in English translates to I am looking for a tree. The metaphor is that this person is looking for a partner that's going to give him, her, or they some support. So the chorus is, Estoy buscando un árbol que me dé sombra. I'm looking for a tree that will provide me with some shade. And you should know that we got energized by those of you who were dancing. And Professor McNeil, we were teasing you because you were the last one we saw on the screen, and we said that you had to dance, and we saw you moving. We would love for everybody to turn their videos on and dance with us for the last song. Thank you so much.
Estoy buscando un árbol que me dé sombra, que me dé sombra, que me dé sombra. Estoy buscando un árbol que me dé sombra, porque el que tengo valora mi ser. Estoy buscando un árbol que me dé sombra, porque el que tengo valora mi ser. Estoy buscando un árbol que me dé sombra, porque el que tengo
Bravo. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Yale School of Environment. Thank you, International Society, the Tropical Forester. We hope you liked it. Thank you for my crew that's here. Ari Castillo, Jasmine Vega, Alex Rosado, Kika Matos, Reynaldo Cruz, and our tech guy. Without him, we're nobody. Jose Candelario.
Muchas gracias de San Juan.
And I'm Kevin Diaz. Look us up at movimientoculturalct.org, please.
Saluditos desde Naranjito.
Thank you so much, everyone, for this incredible performance, and to wrap us out, to wrap up our 3-day virtual conference, the first day we've ever had. I just want to make some great shout outs and thank you to the organizing team, the co-chairs of the conference, Dewi Tan and Alicia Entham, who led the charge for planning the conference, as well as the other members of the planning team, Al Lim, that some of them are here today, Al Lim, Vivian, Rachel Ross, and also want a huge shout out to, and Ryan Smith, who's also here as well. All of them were instrumental in making this happen and dealing with all of the logistics of converting one of the School of the Environment's largest and longest running student conferences from a 3-day in-person extravaganza to a 3-day virtual extravaganza. So just wanted to thank everyone for that incredible work. I also want to have a great shout out to our faculty advisors, Dr. Liza Comita, Dr. Simon Queenborough, and Dr. Florencia Montanini, who have also been with us from the very beginning, from when we conceptualized what this conference would look like, what we wanted to talk about, from the concept note, and have been incredibly supportive all the way through, even up to today, dealing with technical challenges as we all expect in a Zoom and virtual world. So thank you so much, and thank you for all of the presenters, speakers, special guests, and the participants who attended this conference and stuck with us through the end, and coming to the different synchronous and asynchronous elements of the conference. Thank you so much, and we hope that everyone enjoyed the conference and walk away with new perspectives and new friends. And hopefully you got a taste of what ISTF normally is like at the School of the Environment. We have I was just telling someone, special sense of fun, and we hope everyone had a great time. And on that note, thank you so much. I hope everyone enjoys your weekend. To people, good night, good evening, good morning, and have a great rest of your week. See you.